You might notice we've had a change of scenery this week. That's mostly because it's storming at the moment, and I'm sorry if you can hear birds. You're kind of half outside my house at the moment, so there's some storms going on where I live, and the lighting in my office is absolutely horrendous, so I've moved out here. This week is really exciting because I did a collaboration with another channel here on YouTube called Ewe Sew You. I'll leave links to all her social media down below, but basically she's another sewing and crafting channel here on YouTube. She does weaving and knitting and crochet, and she's abundantly more experienced and skilled than I am. I got in contact with Zoe a little while ago, actually, I think just before Christmas, to see if she wanted to do a collaboration, and I thought, what better thing to work on than something that uses up our scrap fabric, because I found that even though I'm quite new to sewing, my scrap fabric has been piling up, and especially with all the failed projects in the beginning, I've got quite a lot of little scrap pieces lying around from that. So I thought we could recycle those and make something useful. And one thing I'm very much lacking in my sewing space is some storage. So I thought we could maybe make some storage boxes or something along those lines. And that was basically the challenge that I set for her and myself. Yeah, I highly recommend checking out Zoe's channel. She's got loads of interesting tutorial style craft videos about sewing and weaving and knitting and crocheting. And she makes lots of really interesting and cool things. Now, when I set myself this challenge, I had done a little bit of research about the kinds of things that you can make using scrap fabric. And one thing I saw that really caught my eye was making yardage from scrap fabric, so turning it back into lengths of usable fabric. And the way I got this idea from a website called The Sewing Loft. It was a tutorial on how to turn your scrap fabric into yardage, and basically what you need is a piece of interfacing, however long you want to make it. You want to get all your fabric scraps and cut them into pieces, something similar to this kind of size. Now, in hindsight, I probably could have made these a little bit bigger, because you'll see from the video on how to actually make them that you need to sew around basically every single one once you've put it onto the interfacing, and that takes a lot of time, and this project actually ate up quite a lot of time for me. So probably if you're going to go ahead and do this, maybe make bigger pieces, that way you have to sew less. I still have a whole box of fabric scraps left over, because it turns out I actually have way more scrap fabric pieces than I could make yardage out of in the time that I had. Every project I've done, there's the failed dressing gown, the blue dress, pink linen skirt I made a while ago that ended up being wrong, my first ever Sewed Academy shirt. What else is in here? Oh, heaps of pink poplin from when I very first started trying to make things, and I kind of just grabbed the cheapest fabric I could see and tried to like chuck it under the sewing machine. Oh, and a bit of the watermelon dress. I don't know if you guys, is this on YouTube? No, I think it's just on Instagram. So I made a dress out of this really cute watermelon print fabric, and I got this, and I think a lot of people go through the stage when they're sewing where you see a patterned fabric and it looks so cool and like real groovy and awesome, and then you put it on and you're like, no one should be wearing clothes out of this print, especially not work dresses, which is what I made it out of. But yeah, oh, and then my latest dress on YouTube, all the concertine pieces from that. Ooh, what other goodies are in? Yeah, more of the failed dressing gown, which I still have usable chunks of this, so I guess that's a good thing to mention, that when looking for scraps to put into this project, I actually went through and sorted through all my fabric and made sure that anything that was kind of up to 1 meter or half a meter I kept, because I can make some Ogden camis out of that, and I've got the pattern for that. I just need to go ahead and do it, find some time. And yeah, so the dressing gown, there's a whole chunk of fabric left over that's actually usable, but these are all the scrappy bits from the edges. Then there's the button-up shirt I made. Yeah, there's a whole lot of stuff. Oh, and then yeah, we went camping and I tried to make a bag for like our camping stove, That's like some cotton drill. I used to make that. Little pink, so much pink poplar in it. It's just like old bodices that I tried to make that didn't work, and like cut out all the stitching parts from it. But yeah, there's quite a lot. Fabric party. Now I have to clean all that up. Great. Oh, and this blue. I can't remember what I made with that. Maybe my first ever attempt at an actual dress. Oh, covered in fabric dust. Now that that's out of the way, the first step in making the yardage was to get your interfacing, lay out all the pieces that you wanted, and iron them down so that they stuck to it. And making yardage is not actually super complicated, it's just really time consuming. So I spent a couple of nights interfacing. So once you've interfaced all your pieces, it looks something like this. And yes, I made way too much. I could clothe a tiny village. Obviously, that was super time consuming, and I really didn't need to make that much. Which is mostly why this project ended up being a little bit of a flop. Not completely, just I spent too much time interfacing fabric. It was really therapeutic, kind of cool. I think I watched like 4 or 5 episodes of When Calls the Heart on Netflix. 10 out of 10 recommend if you want to cry at some soppy romancy stuff. So once you have your giant sheet of interfaced fabric, you go ahead and sew down the edges of the pieces of fabric that are on top. And this also takes a lot of time. The pieces for the storage box were pretty simple in my mind, just rectangles of 10 inches by 10 inches, which is how deep my bookshelf is, and 10 inches across is, if I have 3 boxes, that'll be 1 shelf worth of storage. I made 1 box because it took way longer than I expected, but basically after I'd interfaced everything and sewed all the parts down, I cut out 10 inch by 10 inch panels with a little bit of seam allowance on each one, and that gave you this. And in hindsight, I probably shouldn't have used black thread, but in the spirit of using up old things and recycling, I had a bunch of really cheap black cotton thread left from when I very first started sewing, so I went ahead and used that. And though it didn't color coordinate quite as well on the lighter pieces, it did do the job, and it was in the spirit of recycling stuff. So once I'd interfaced it and sewed down all the pieces and cut out my 10 inch by 10 inch panels, it was time to connect the pieces. And I did this using, again, some cotton bias tape that I'd purchased from online somewhere. I can't even remember where, but it's very rough and very cheap feeling, and I was going to put it on the inside of all my clothes, but I think it would scratch a lot and actually be really uncomfortable. So I've got 3 rolls of it, like 20 meters. I don't know how I'm going to get rid of 20 meters of it, but I used like 2 in doing this project. So I went ahead and used that to connect all the pieces to the base piece and ended up with this puppy. Yes, it looks abhorrent. It's not visually appealing in any way, or at least I don't think it is. It's also not structurally very strong. If I had maybe put cardboard on the inside, that might have reinforced it a little bit. So I think next time I'd actually make double layer sides. So the inside is still just the panel with the stitching, and it means that the box itself is not rigid, like it's not going to hold a whole lot of stuff. And at the moment I'm just storing all my mock-up and bits and pieces in there. So like this is a really good pencil skirt mock-up. I think this is a dress. Yes, this is one of the very first dresses I made. And then like this is a t-shirt mock-up for a shirt I made. Did I even make this shirt? Yes, this is the no, this is not the button-up shirt. It's a mock-up for a shirt. Who knows? I should have labeled it probably. Yeah, just a bunch of cool stuff. And now I'm getting distracted. Oh, this is the Vogue dress mock-up. Yeah, that makes sense. Anyway, it's full of a bunch of things. I'm not going to go through all of them. There's a lot of failed things in here, but they're still mock-ups I want to keep. They all have some kind of learning, and this storage box is perfect for that because there's enough mock-ups that it's going to hold its shape, but not, I don't need to access them so much that it's going to destroy the shape of the box or be annoying. But I kind of don't have the patience all the time to make another one right now. So I think what I'll do is hang on to the meters and meters of interfaced fabric that I have, and also all the fabric scraps, and make them when I'm stuck between projects. I say that now, and I feel like a lot of experienced sewers are like, you're never ever going to look at that again. But basically, I think it was a success in the sense that I learned something and I made a box that I can use. If you look at Zoe's box, however, it is freaking amazing, and props to her, it looks so good. I probably should have thought out my project a little bit more, but I know for next time, I suppose, that you don't need to interface 6 meters of yardage if you're only going to use 1. But yeah, in the spirit of not having just failures to show you every week, I thought I'd show you a project I made ages ago when I didn't want to purchase a lot of sewing supplies, and I was looking for a tailor's ham. And I made one. I just made one out of calico, and then I stuffed it with all my scraps. Back then I only had like just enough to fill this, and now I have probably enough to make 20. So surprisingly it took quite a lot of stuffing though. But that was basically just like, I found a free pattern online, don't even remember where, but I'm sure if you just googled it, it would come up. There's quite a few for things like tailor's hams and the other longer tailor ham thing for sleeves. But basically, for those of you who don't know, a tailor's ham helps you iron, I was going to say press, but it is ironing, iron around curves. So you sit this under the shoulder of the shirt, and then you can iron over the curve, and it makes it just like the shape of your shoulder and parts of your body. So like different angles of it, like this might be your bust if you're flat chested like me, your shoulder, or like just different. It makes it easy to sew different seams because it also like absorbs the heat from the iron. So once you it just makes like a nice clean crisp edge, and it's good. It's a good little tool. You'll have seen it in a lot of my other videos when I'm pressing seams. I use this quite often, especially my desk. I don't need to worry about burning the table. I can just press it on my tailor's ham. Yeah, it's pretty simple, and I didn't want to do that for this project because I feel like stuffing something is kind of like a cop-out way of recycling, although it is still recycling things. So I was actually thinking I might use all these scraps that I have left over to stuff a pillow-ish thing for my computer chair / sewing chair, because the pillow is kind of dying, so maybe I'll do that. I don't know. But yeah, that's all I have for you this week. Don't forget to check out Ewe Sew You's channel. She has a much more entertaining, skilled tutorial than I do. Comment down below if you have any ideas for how I can use up the rest of my scraps and or interface yardage, because oh my goodness, I have so much of it. And I don't think a shirt out of it would be great. Maybe it would. Maybe it's a fashion statement I should get on to. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and check out Ewe Sew You's channel. I will leave all her details of all the places you can find her down below. And definitely check out her challenge. It looks super cool, and like it actually worked and came out well. Not that mine was a failure, just not the cool super storage box I envisioned. Until next week.